Aloha.
Okay, I'm just giving directions. You know how that goes.
Mr. Q.
I got caught here. Aloha and good afternoon. Welcome to Maui Nonprofit Notes. This is the show where we talk story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and staff to find out how they're working to support the needs of the Maui community. We're sponsored by Pacific Source, Maui's best source for building materials, with a cabinet and appliance showroom open to the public in the Waikapu Bayshard. I'm Susie Tiemann, Interim Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific and President of the Maui Nonprofit Directors. I'm happy to introduce my co-host for today. Hey, Sherry.
Hi, Susie.
We've got Sherry Dotson, who is the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity Maui.
That's right. And during this hour, we're going to be sharing our experiences of how nonprofits help our community. We'll talk about some inspirational stories and how these agencies really impact our community and change everybody's life for the better. Today we have
Pam Kahai from Kalima o Maui. She's the program coordinator, and she's brought Sean with her, who is one of the want-to-be workers. Does that appropriately state what Sean's looking for? He's looking for a job. And right now, I understand Kalima is filled up all of their employment slots. So Pam is helping him find a job outside of Kalima.
Out in the community. You're correct, Susie.
You want to give us a little bit of rundown on how that works?
Well, yes, we do employ within, and we have custodial contracts and grounds contracts. But when we're full, or if it's a request by the participant, then we look for them work out in the community, which at this point, Sean, who is with us today, is looking for work out in the community.
And Sean's got some experience working out in the community. Before we went on the air, we were talking about some of the internships that he's had, places like Ruby's. Where else we had? You worked at the school. Which school was that?
Baldwin High.
Baldwin High?
What did you do at Baldwin High School?
I do
Class cleaner?
class cleaner, janitor, and maybe some of calf worker.
Cafeteria worker?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's good variety.
So is that what you want to do? What kind of job are you looking for?
Any kind job.
Any kind that pays?
Yeah.
He needs money in his pocket.
Gotcha. Don't we all? Don't we all? That's kind of the basis for all of us going to work. What do you prefer, indoor or outdoor?
Maybe.
Yeah?
Maybe indoor?
Maybe indoor. Outdoor.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how does Kalima help individuals like Sean find a job and job train and get ready for jobs?
Well, once they're referred to us, we do an intake to find out their interests and research our Craigslist, the Maui News, HireNet. We work very closely with the workforce development. Even we help the participant. Sometimes they hear something through a friend. You know, word of mouth is very popular here on Maui, so we go that route as well. Once the opportunity comes up, then we help the participant with resume writing. We do role playing, how to interview, because everybody is kind of nervous when it comes to interviewing.
Right.
And then
that's that first look, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we also offer job coaching services. So once he is hired, or the participant is hired, there's a job coach that goes with them, and it's no cost to the employer.
Ah.
So
is that like shadowing and helping
yes,
them with things they need to learn on
exactly
the job?
Whatever they're trained to do, the job coach also is trained to do it. That way, it relieves the employer of having a supervisor with them.
I've seen that at Ruby's.
Yes.
Yeah, I may have seen you. I eat at Ruby's a lot. I like their burgers. But I have seen individuals working and somebody sort of following them around and helping them, and well, that's great.
Yeah, that's what job coaching services are. Mm-hmm.
And does that continue throughout the whole employment, or hopefully there's a time when?
There's a time frame, but it depends on the participant. So the job coach is there until the participant and the employer is both comfortable that the participant can work independently.
That's great.
That's
great.
terrific. That would make it a lot easier for a company to hire someone, knowing that they don't have to sign somebody to really keep an eye on them or help them with that extra piece of learning
And training, yeah.
and training.
Training takes a lot of time.
Yes, it does.
It does. That's interesting because I always thought, most people know Kalima from your contracts that you have with the parks, and we see what a great job you guys have done down there. It is the parks, right?
Yeah, we're at the county parks.
You guys may not see this, but I got to look like, oh, okay.
Yes, you see our trucks.
Right.
You'll see our trucks at the county parks. We
You also do some work for us at Lokahi Pacific.
Yes,
At some
yes,
of
we
our
do.
apartment buildings.
Yes, we're there on Saturdays, I believe.
And so what other companies do you contract with to do?
The YMCA, also the Maui News, HCNS. We also are at Job Corps, Walgreens, the Army Reserve, and TSA at the airport.
Oh, wonderful. Mm-hmm. So you guys have contracts with those companies, and then your teams go in and do janitorial, landscape, all kinds of things.
Correct. Both grounds and custodial is the type of work we offer.
That's great. Now, when they're employed with Kalima for these contracts, they're Kalima's employees, not TSA or...
Correct. They are Kalima employees.
So this is just like any other, janitorial company, basically, that you hire and give them specific scope of work, and you guys go in and do it. And
Correct. But of course, knowing that we are a company that hires persons with disabilities.
Right. So if we wanted to add, say, another property to our list of properties that you already do work on, you would come out and take a look and see what's needed, and you would decide what kind of a crew is needed there, how many people. And then
Correct.
You'd give us a quote based on that.
Anyone interested in hiring us, all they need to do is call Kalima and ask for Daniel Honma. And yes, he'd be right out there to assess the whole project.
And is Daniel at 244-5502?
Yes.
There we go. 244-5502. Very good. So we're thrilled with what you do. I've got to say that.
Well, thank you.
And I think, as we look around at the parks, we can tell which parks you do and which ones you don't.
Oh, thank you
stop
again.
that. You're going to get in trouble.
Uh-oh. Well, I don't know who does the others.
Parks and Recs.
Oh,
Yeah.
you had to tell me that, didn't you?
So we won't compare, but we do know you guys do good work. But I
do.
imagine there is some hesitancy from some companies because of the fact, as you said, you hire disabled. So how do you get around that? How do you convince them that your disabled workers are just as able to do jobs, anywhere?
Well, disabled persons that you hire are just like anyone else, but most of all, they're very loyal. So when you hire someone with a disability, you're going to get an employee that's going to be with you for a long time.
Yeah, that's great. And that's huge because turnover is, and it comes with, you've got somebody who's going to stick around, who's going to get trained on their own. What a time saver and what a money saver.
Yes.
Because it's very expensive to train someone. It's very expensive to have that turnover. People, I'm going through it right now, trying to train someone new, and it takes so much time.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So if you have somebody that's already trained, that's come in, has someone to shadow them, and then that's going to be there for forever if they want.
If they need, that's correct. And that's, again, the job service we offer, job coaching.
And I was looking at your newsletter, and you talk about the number of years that people have been with you. And you've got a lot of long-term people.
Yes, we have.
Which means there's satisfaction on both sides. That's tremendous.
Yep.
The other thing I saw in there that I thought was interesting was the trip to Las Vegas.
California, Disneyland.
Oh, California. Disneyland, that's what it was.
Disneyland, yes.
Oh, they're both play places. So.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, Disneyland. But tell me what that was all about.
Well, I can't really tell you how many people went right now off the top of my head, but it was coordinated by Barbara Kim Kugel. She's our Hui Club coordinator, and she took along with the chaperones. I think there were about 4 chaperones that went with her, and with clients that were interested in going. And they went up there, I believe it was on a Thursday. I could be wrong, could be Friday. You can tell I didn't go. And they came back on a Monday. Or it could have been a Sunday, but anyway, there's lots of pictures, and it's in our newsletter,
Right.
and it's on I believe it's on our website.
Yes, it is.
Okay, there you go. So, feel free to visit it,
Yeah.
and even come by, stop by our office, and meet our Disneyland participants.
So did they earn the right to go, or was it what
Well,
was it based on?
What the Hui Club does, what Barbara does, is the Hui Club, they raise funds, and they raise funds to basically do a event every month. But they stopped, I believe, for a year and a half or two, and they just focused on raising funds to do this Disneyland trip.
Big trip.
That happened
and
the
they
beginning
also,
of this year.
yeah, the participants also put a portion of their paycheck aside too, yeah?
Yes.
So they saved for it too.
Yes, they're
Which is what
spending money.
Yes, which we all have to do before we can go on a trip. Is you save and then you go. Well,
Yes,
fun.
exactly.
How fun!
They had a wonderful time, and Barbara's already in the works planning something else. I'm thinking she kind of mentioned like Alaska or a cruise
Oh my gosh.
ship kind of.
Wow.
So we'll see what Barbara comes up with, right?
You gotta sign up for that.
Oh yes, she asked me, "Will you come this time?" I said, "I think so."
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so. I missed out the last time.
I think so.
That's the magic. The cruise. Wow.
Wow, Kalima does so much for the community. They really do. And so much for, we all know for the disabled community, but for the entire community. And keeping Maui beautiful and offering those services at a reasonable price and giving people opportunities to work and in our community, which is huge because it's not easy to find a job for anybody right now.
You're right. You're so right.
Are you guys having difficulty?
We're having a hard time right now finding work in the community. I think when the economy kind of went bad, there's a lot of competition. So all we ask is give them the fair, equal opportunity everyone else gets.
Let us bid the job as well. Yeah.
Yes,
Think
yes.
of Kalima when you're thinking of somebody who's going to maintain your yard or your business or, a janitorial job or something like that.
Yes.
Don't forget us.
Don't forget us.
Yes.
I think the same thing can be said. Like, here we have Sean looking for a job. Give him a chance. Let him show you what he can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some experience behind him, and like you said, he'll be shadowed for a while to make sure that he gets into the groove, and
And you guys can't see it, but Sean looks very strong.
he does.
I bet you he can clean really well. Yep. So if you want,
He's shaking his head yes. He doesn't talk much, and when he does, he's very soft spoken.
that actually can be a benefit because I got some employees who talk too much. Are you guys listening?
To also get out of the box with persons with disabilities when hiring them, sometimes they don't interview that well. So what I'm trying to introduce to the employer is let them work for one day. Sometimes, action does speak louder than words.
That's true.
Absolutely.
So
That's true.
kind of thinking out of the box and going a different route. Right, Sean?
Yep.
He spoke.
There we go. He spoke. He spoke. It heads up. I guess the thing that is I used to work at MEO, so I'd see your trucks come and go with people loaded into the trucks. Crew of 4 or 6 people headed out for a job with all the equipment in the trailer in the back of the truck. And I think, I wonder where they're headed today, and I think about what I knew that you did, and then there'd be times in the afternoon where I'd see the truck come back and everybody's just, it's like they've been outside all day. And I think that's tremendous. I couldn't do it anymore,
I don't think I could
I
have
don't
ever
think
done
ever. That's true, I guess, to a certain extent. I mean, I can take care of my yard, but beyond that,
I was going to say that our yard we can do, right?
Yeah. Nice small patch of grass.
yeah, right. So I give you a lot of credit, Sean, for getting out there and doing all these internships and learning all these different pieces. Probably one of the best available potential employees I've run into in quite a while. And on that note, we're going to take a break and hear from Pacific Source.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design, We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
Aloha and welcome back. For those of you who are just tuning in, this is Maui Nonprofit Notes. What? Did I forget something?
No, I was waiting for you to say this is Susie, and I was going to say this is Sherry.
Oh, okay. Well, in the middle of our conversation, this is Susie.
And this is Sherry, and we'd like to do a big shout out to Pacific Source for your continued support of our show here. We really appreciate it, being able to get nonprofits on the show once a week and talk about our programs, which we're also passionate about, talk about our special events, and talk about what's happening in the nonprofit world and how we're changing people's lives.
Now I see why you're so anxious to talk. You had it all ready to go.
Well,
You've been thinking about it over the break.
Okay. Not really, but
If you say so. We had a little bit, more than we read off of notes because it's not that we can't read.
well, I can't.
So it's like we're not used to reading when we're talking.
Yeah.
It's ad lib. We just talk about what we.
Because we're like you, we have our nonprofit, so we're passionate about it. So, somebody give me 5 minutes to talk about Habitat, and I won't shut up for 15.
I was going to say we have to pull the plug, so to speak. Yeah, and that's what I'm hearing from. We're talking with Pam Kahai of Kalima o Maui, and Sean, who's one of the participants of the program over there and is looking for work. If you're looking for somebody to do some cleaning, what would be your dream job?
Doing some busing at a restaurant
You like restaurant
Maybe
work,
restaurant work or
because it is air conditioning
and they have food,
and food.
maybe school work or
working in a school or
Restaurant.
restaurant. Well, those are the two places you've already worked, so you have experience on those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can do other things. Yeah, you can do cleaning any place.
except for my house.
He's
Yeah.
just like the rest of us.
It's so true, isn't it?
So true.
So
Yeah.
you don't have a clean room? Never.
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 Well, potential employers out there, that's very typical. But this guy, I bet you, will do a great job for you if you're willing to give him a shot.
give him a try.
Give him a try.
Now, we were talking about Kalima has their own crew that goes out and does work, and about 50 people on your staff. Is that
Yep.
what you
50
have?
persons are employed.
And many of those have been long-term employees.
Lots of our
So
people
it's,
that
it's really hard to move into your staff unless you create another crew.
correct, and that's where Daniel Honma comes in, and he's doing a great job. Keep it up.
He's the guy that goes out and gets the new contracts.
He's the guy. Yes, he is.
So if you're looking for a crew to come and clean inside or out,
Grounds work?
you name it, call Kalima and call Daniel and tell him you want to see him over there, and he can be reached at 244-5502.
Now, does it have to be like an ongoing contract, clean every week, or can it be just come in, clean, and then you're done?
we have done contracts like that.
Because I know a lot of, I'm obviously in the construction business. I know a lot of contractors have, when they are finishing up a job site, job cleanup is not something that a carpenter will do.
Right, right.
Carpenters don't paint, carpenters don't pick up. But it's a big job on a job site, is doing job site cleanup, not just getting rid of rubbish and stuff, but going in and cleaning down the windows that get all dirty and all that kind of stuff.
Right, Sherry, give us a call.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking of other contractors out there. Maybe I'll get with you or Daniel and get a flyer or something so I can send it out to the Maui Contractors Association.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because construction cleanup is a huge
That's what I hear.
potential out there, whether it's a residential or a multi. We just finished the Marriott down there. I'm sure that they need a lot of cleanup too. That would be a great job.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Are you messy?
Personally?
No, no. You just said we finished at the Marriott.
Oh, I didn't finish
No,
it,
no,
but
yeah.
you know,
It was
it
just a
was
project.
finished. Yes,
Yeah.
but yes, contractors are very messy.
It's kind of like chefs in a kitchen.
Yeah.
You know,
Did you watch Hell's Kitchen last night?
No. Why was it bad?
Oh gosh, yes.
No, but you know, I mean, they're focusing on the product, the
Yes.
finished product, and so the mess behind them is somebody else's problem.
That's where we come in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
And one Thanksgiving, we had some company over, and the family was like a family of cooks and chefs, and they were making all these, you know, out of the kitchen. We're going to take over, right? And I mean, when we sat down to eat, it's one of those houses where the kitchen and the eating area is all open. When we sat down to eat, I looked over in the kitchen. I go, they found every pot and pan and plate and knife and fork and spoon in the house, and it's all piled up all over the kitchen. And you know, I couldn't eat.
I don't think Kalima's going to come to your house and clean up after Thanksgiving.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Well, that was one time. We don't do that anymore. It took about 3 days to really get everything clean and put away.
But if you're you know, a contractor, if you're a business and you do have a cleanup project, don't forget to call Kalima, because not only will you probably get a good bid from them, but you are helping out some really, really deserving people who are good workers, hard workers, and who deserve a shot.
That's
Just-
so correct. Mhm.
Just need a chance to show you what they can do.
Now, Kalima's been around for how long?
55 years.
Oh, my
I gotta
gosh.
say 55 plus years. We're founded in what, 1955? Where's the calculator?
55
So-
would be 2010.
Okay, 57. There you go.
57
45,
years.
no, 45.
57 years?
47 years.
47 years?
Yeah. No, 55, right.
Oh,
45
Gosh,
to
do we
2000.
have a lot of math whizzes? Thank
45 to
Thank you,
2000.
Gary, the engineer.
Yes, 57 years. What would we do without Gary? I tell you.
It's nice to know engineers can add.
You know, the other week when we needed to talk about an animal that most people don't have at home, there was Gary with his 100-pound pet pig. I mean, it's just, you know, he's the guy. He's full of surprises.
But so you guys have been around for a long, long time,
Yes, we
serving the
have.
community. And has the program always been basically the same?
Well, I've been with Kalima for 8 years, so what I know is they once upon a time had a thrift store and a nursery. It was a more sheltered workshop, but now they have grown into regular employment, which has worked out just fine.
Right. Chantel, your executive director, was saying that not everybody wants to work, you know, in the yard or clean up and so forth. And so you're kind of branching out into more general areas, or routine, I shouldn't say routine, but you're encouraging both clients and participants to come in who have other ideas of what they want to do or what they want done.
Oh, yes. We could place a participant in Kalima if they want to do grounds or custodial, but it's whatever their interest is, the type of job I would help them find. So if they're interested in working in a restaurant or they have experience in a grocery store, that's where we would search. Not all participants will end up at Kalima.
Right.
That's also a service that we provide, is
Right.
helping them find work in the community.
That's great. Well, I just want to go ahead.
I think the other comment that deserves a plug here is Chantel was talking about the reason people hire Kalima or folks with disabilities. She says you hire a person with a disability because they're great workers that are going to be with your company for a long time, not because it's a nice thing to do.
That's true.
That's true.
And I think that's the emphasis that we want to leave with everybody as we talk about Kalima and the folks who work with Kalima.
So if you're interested, you can call Kalima at 244-5502. You can call and ask for Pam or Daniel. And if you have a project that you're interested in bidding out, whether it's custodial, janitorial, or landscaping, give them a call. Or if you have a job for Sean. Right, Sean?
Sean's ready to go to work tomorrow, huh?
That's
Hope
right.
so.
Or this afternoon.
Hope so.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Sean, for being with us, and Pam.
Thank
it's
you,
been
Sherry.
our-
Thank
our
you, Susie, for
pleasure.
having us.
It's been our pleasure to talk to you. Great, and we're going to shift gears here real quick and bring on Greg Lagoy. He's, gosh, it seems like every 3 or 4 months, Greg and I get a chance to chat on the radio. That's more than we ever chatted when we were neighbors.
That's right.
That's a sad state of affairs, isn't it? You have to be on the radio to talk to your neighbor.
Yeah, really.
But Greg is the executive director at
Hospice Maui.
At Hospice Maui, and you've got all kinds of things going on over there.
We do. And funny, it sounded like a question.
It did.
So
there was a question mark at the end of that.
Yeah, I'll presume that this is my opportunity to say a few things. One of the things that that certainly is foremost in my mind is our hospice house that we're working on. Most people who are listening to this already know that quite some time ago we got a certificate of need to do a facility. And at the time we were modeling what we were going to do on what had been successfully done all over the United States, which including in Honolulu. And for us, that meant a 12-bed hospice inpatient facility. And there are certain requisite design parameters for such a thing, as you might imagine, being in healthcare. And what you probably have no idea about is that insurance reimbursement governs so much of how the healthcare system looks. And it turns out that in the last couple of years, Medicare, which is one of the main insurers of hospice care for people who are toward the end of their lives, they, meaning Medicare, has changed the emphasis on how they look at certain aspects of reimbursement. What this means in practical terms is that there's a very much higher level of reimbursement that's available to a hospice program that has a facility if the people in the facility, certain ones, have a required higher level of acuity. A required, when I say required, meaning in order to be eligible for this extra reimbursement, the hospice has to show a certain higher level of need. And Medicare changed the rules on that in the last couple of years. And the impact that that's had on our project can be summarized in that the number of people that we anticipated getting this higher reimbursement for is now a quarter of what we had expected it to be. And so we have had to look at the operational solvency of a 12-bed hospice house. And for us, from our point of view, from our research that we've done and from having done hospice work here for over 30 years, we're feeling that it's not, a 12-bed house is too big. And it's too big from 2 points of view. One is, in the beginning, we don't need that many beds. And the other is that when you build a place that can focus on people who are at a hospital level of need, the building has to have certain hospital-like attributes. And when you build 12 beds, we had 2 hallways that were over 60 feet long. And so the sense of long hallways with rooms on the hallway, that hospital feeling, it changes how you approach managing it. It changes the attitudes of the people who work there. I went to the mainland last fall to look at how things were going in the midst of all this. And I had some very strong revelations. The larger facility, because it's intended to be a sort of a home-like environment, has a big living room, and because it's 12 beds, that implies a lot of family members might come. So it's got usually 2 big living rooms and a formal dining area and a casual sort of vending machine, microwave, countertop kind of dining area, and a TV lounge area and a kids lounge area, and typically a couple family meeting spaces. This is a large building. Mm-hmm. And when I really sat down to re-examine in detail how we would do this in a different paradigm, I came across some very unexpected things. I also looked at some very small 5-bed places. And with 5 beds as opposed to 6 or 12, there's a different set of rules that applies just because of the size of the place. And suddenly there's a shift in the feeling, and the shift is based upon the lack of certain mandatory requirements because it's so small. So what we've decided to do is build a 5-bed facility, and there's room on our place at the top of Mahalani Street for 2 such places. So our certificate of need for 12 beds will in fact eventually be filled with 10 beds, which is pretty close. And the most important part of this change is that the patient and family experience is transformed. When I was on the mainland in the fall looking in all these 10, 12, 18 and 20 bed facilities, hospice, these are hospice facilities that are supposed to be very homey and home-like. They didn't really feel very homey and home-like. This is the shocking part. I went to 9 of these places. I went different times of day, different days of the week. Remember all the common spaces I listed? The living room, the TV lounge, et cetera, et cetera. I did not once see a single individual using any of those spaces. None. So the first thing I thought was, this is strange. What is this about? Well, there were 2 things that came up when I started investigating this. One is that because of the feeling, because of these wide, long hallways with nurses' stations and whatnot, the sense of, and the fact that there's a bathroom in each of the patient bedrooms means that the family and the patient felt that their room with their bathroom was like a hotel room, and that was their space. And as much as they were invited to be in these other spaces, that was not something they felt comfortable doing because it didn't feel like their space. The flip side of that coin is that in the 5-bed places, they do not have a bathroom in each bedroom. They have 2 bathrooms in the hallway for the 5 bedrooms, which suffice quite well. And the patients and the families then feel a part of the house, not just a part of their little hotel room, so to speak. The other part of this was that these larger lounges and dining areas and whatnot, I talked to this one woman who was a receptionist at a hospice program in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And she said, I've been here 10 years, and they just renovated this place. And before they renovated, the living room was smaller, it had old furniture, it had a low ceiling, and I used to delight in the fact that family members would come and they would meet each other from different families. They would share their experiences, and it was a very rich connection, a rich support that we offered. We spent $2.5 million renovating this whole place, making it larger, higher vaulted ceiling, and there were 2 of them now, nice furniture. She said, people walk by now and they look, they go, oh, isn't that beautiful? And nobody, she said, and I mean nobody sits in these places because this looks like, like a hotel lobby or a picture out of Architectural Digest.
Or the lobby of the hospital.
But it's not inviting in a homey kind of a sense.
And that's what you want for your patients
that's
and your
what
families.
You want.
Yes.
And the experience of the families who are in the 5-bed, because we have a 5-bed facility here in Hawaii. It's in Kailua.
Oh, really?
On Oahu. Hospice Hawaii runs it. And the experience there is that family members will sit in the living room, because there's a normal living room, that I said, so where do your staff have their lunch? And he says, well, at the kitchen table. Of course, I'm used to okay, you've got a staff lounge and a staff lunch. At the kitchen table. Well, where do the family members, if they want to have something to eat, they eat at the kitchen table too. Well, what do the patients stay in the room the whole time? Of course not. They're up and about if they can be, or they're in a wheelchair, and they'll come into the kitchen and they'll eat at the kitchen table too.
What a nicer experience.
It is completely transformed my picture of what was possible. And so I actually spent then after that about a month designing the building myself, and then I collaborated with a friend of mine who's an architectural draftsperson and designer, and she's really good with design, and several of my staff, and we hammered out the design, which we finished last week.
Oh, great.
And so we are about to give that to the drafts people and the engineers and whatnot, and turn this into some building documents.
Wow.
So this is pretty exciting. This is really, really
So is it
exciting.
going to be, how many bedrooms total?
5.
5-bedroom house.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
What
terrific.
It's a little over 3,000 square feet.
Uh-huh.
What an amazing turnaround.
Isn't it?
It's just, hang on just a second. We
Yeah.
got Pacific Source coming up for a few seconds, and then we'll be back.
All right.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And a thank you to Paul. I love it when he does his own commercials. There's something about his voice. There's
Susie's got a crush.
no, they did well. You know, the showroom is so fabulous.
It is.
And-
It is.
and
if
I
you
could-
haven't been there, you need to go down and see his showroom.
You know, it's interesting that, just a plug for Pacific Source, in 1994, 95, 96, we did a major renovation in our house, big house, and we did everything with Pacific Source, everything, top to bottom, and it was great working with those guys. I mean, it was great.
Yeah, they're terrific.
It's so nice to have everything in one place. And you can just go in and they have a showroom where you can see what it's going to look like and real knowledgeable people to help you. So we thank you very much, Paul. And we thank you for sponsoring our show.
Exactly, for 3.5 years. It's
That's
been great.
wonderful.
Yeah. So you were telling us about a real turnaround in your plans based on the experiences you had last fall when you went and checked out some places and I just, you know, it's like an aha moment.
What the interesting evolution of it was that while it was initially driven by real concerns because of reimbursement, it turned out to have a silver lining that on its own merits, we would have gone in that direction had we fleshed that out. But you know, that's typically, it's very difficult to find one's way when there is a preponderance of experience and evidence to do things a certain way because reimbursement drives things a certain way. And so I felt we were very fortunate to not have committed so much to the 12-bed design that we couldn't, you know, suddenly make this change. So the timing was quite fortunate for us.
Well, it just makes sense. You know, thanks to hospice, both my parents were taken care of in their own home, though, because they did not want to get into that
Institutional setting.
type setting, yes. But hospice was able to create a situation where we could keep them at home. And I think that, you know, I was very fortunate to be able to do that. But there's many families who can't keep their family at home. You know, either they're not, you know, home during the day, or, you know, they don't have the ability or room in their house. They have kids. You know, for me, it wasn't a problem. So this makes such great sense because it puts the patient at ease. Like my parents were like, no, I don't want to be. They, you know, envisioned, you know, long hallways, 60-foot hallways, and nurses' stations, and you know, the clamoring of they said absolutely not. And so if there was a place that was more like
A home.
their home, and they could put their pictures up and they can do all that to make them feel comfortable, even if they're there for 2 weeks or 2 months.
One of the things about our site, for those listeners who aren't familiar, Hospice Maui's office is on top of the hill above the hospital. You drive up Mahalani Street until you hit Maui-Lani Parkway at the end, and we're just there on the left. And it's 4 acres of county land that we lease for 55 years for $1 a year. And there's enough room up there to, as I said, put 2 of these 5-bed
Oh my gosh,
facilities.
they're going to have beautiful views.
That's my point.
Oh, I just got
There
the
is-
visual.
Yes, there's a we can see the ocean above the hospital. We see over the hospital roof to see the ocean. And so the views are going to be quite spectacular
And
from up there.
serene and beautiful. Oh,
Now, when a person is in the last few weeks, days, hours of life, it's important that we build the flexibility into these rooms, that we can be sensitive to what people are needing, because people become often very sensitive at that time. And a spectacular wide view like that might be frightening to some people. That might trigger agoraphobia, the sense of laying in a stadium kind of a thing. And so initially, what we had thought in this design that I had first come up with is we can close curtains, and then they can simply have the coziness of a fairly small room. We intentionally did not make the rooms large. And then we recognized that would be that wouldn't be ideal for some people, because some people like looking out into a garden. So we actually did some architectural trickery to create angled windows that look into small cultivated little rock gardens with some, like little Japanese gardens. Every room has windows looking out to its own little Japanese garden, or a shared Japanese garden, small little rock garden with a few trees,
little zen.
shrubs.
Oh, nice.
So that there is that sense. And the bathrooms actually have private garden lanai areas, so that it is possible to bring in a sense of that. Obviously, most people aren't going to want to go out there, but it is possible to go out. And each room also has exit to the lanai, which, where the views are. So from the bed, the views are visible, and the garden. And if they are able to get up, they can go out onto the lanai. And then an actual requirement, which I think is a brilliant requirement for a hospice house, is that there be a sleeping arrangement for a family member in each room, in addition to the patient. This is usually in the form of a recliner or a sofa bed or something like that. So we've got recliners designed in as well.
Oh, nice. This sounds like nicer than a high-class hotel.
It's going to have a very nice feeling about it. We have focused in our design upon balancing the patient-family experience with the needs for it to be efficient for staff and cost. And because we're in the fundraising phase, and we had been in the fundraising phase for a facility that was going to cost probably $4.5 million, and now it's going to cost $1.5 million, we're wanting to make this as positive an experience as possible. And there is a lot of innovation in this building, and we are hoping that this is going to set a new standard.
It'll be the showcase.
It'll be the showcase, and I think it can be utilized nationally as a way for places like this to be designed that now change the mindset. And a way that the mindset changes is that when you only have 5 bedrooms, small hallways, 3,000 square feet, and only 2 patient bathrooms, your staff, a nurse aide, can be asked to vacuum the carpet or clean the kitchen or clean the bathroom, and that can be a part of their job description in the evenings or nights, because they have to be there on the clock when they're not needed. But if there's a bathroom in every patient bedroom, which is required once you hit 6 beds or more, and long hallways and an institutional feel, you need a janitorial, a specific staff. So there's a number of areas. Same with laundry. I asked someone who was running a small 5-bed facility. I said, "So where's your soiled linen area? Because you're required to have a soiled linen area." And he said, "Inside the washing machine." And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. What could be better?
It's soiled, it goes in the washer.
Exactly. And I said, "What about your clean linen area?" He says, "Those are the shelves above the dryer."
Or the dryer. I hate to put you on the spot, Greg, when you were talking about the whole, it making it feel like a house. What about pets?
Pets are welcome.
I was just going to say,
Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
So many people, are so attached to their pet, and the thought of having to leave their pet and go somewhere, and their cat, who would probably help them, put them at ease, or their little small puppy, I call those small little dogs accessories.
Mhm.
You know, having to leave that and probably be much calmer and much more at home if they had them.
One of the most important things, and we're just now moving into an opportunity at our organization to begin what's called pet therapy, which is actually having some little critters that we can bring into patients. There can be really dramatic shifts in the perspectives of someone who's dying to have some cuddly little dog, cat, or something of their preference nearby.
Yeah, mine's 50 pounds, but she seriously,
Yeah,
she is the love. I
Yeah.
mean, and she's got a little bit of that insight on who needs a little bit special, like
Mhm.
you know, young kids. She's always very careful about them, even though she's so big. But she would like do fantastic in there because all she wants is somebody's hand on her. It doesn't matter who's anybody.
Yeah. I have a friend who had to go to one of the neighbor islands for surgery a few months ago, and the doctor's nurse, when they were setting up, you know, when she's going to arrive, etc., asked, "Are you going to be bringing a teddy bear or something?"
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what an interesting question.
I have to admit, when I was
I-
going through my transplants and stuff, I always brought something home from home.
Yeah.
And it usually was a teddy bear. It was something that made me just feel a little bit more connected to home. You know, when you're going to be in the hospital for, you know, weeks upon weeks, like I had to with my transplants,
Yeah.
you definitely want something there that's familiar.
Yeah. And like they said, you know, you're on a different island and nobody's here that you know. You know, that teddy bear can be just
And it's
just a
actually
piece.
really good when you have IV in your hand to have it rested on a teddy bear. Just the design of a
It's the
teddy
right
bear.
size.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is something I found out.
I'll have to remember
Interesting.
that.
Yeah, teddy
Yeah.
bears make great little pillows for IV hands.
There you go. So teddy bears, and then we go to the live animals, which, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that I would want my last days to be without my puppy dog,
Yeah.
you know, assuming he's around when that happens, but
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't
Somebody,
go first.
somebody will be around. One
Yes,
dog or another
yes,
will be
right.
around
That's
for
pretty,
both of us.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, yeah.
So where are you guys? You guys are just finishing the design.
Yes, just finishing the design, about to have the construction documents and the engineering done. We're still in the midst of our fundraising because our fundraising is not only for this hospice house, but it's for an office as well. We figure, you know, just do one fundraising push altogether. Our office is only 1,800 square feet, and we now have 32 employees. And fortunately, a lot of them are doing their work out in people's homes. But, you know, today's a Wednesday, and I left my staff meeting to come here. And when everybody is there, we can't even fit everybody in the office. And so
Wow.
people are overflowing into the meeting room. And it changes the culture when you have some of the staff you don't even see much anymore, because when they get to the office, they're, you know, out in other places. And so we're wanting to have an office that can really accommodate us, not just now, but as we grow a bit more. And so we've done a little bit of design work, not in terms of what the building will look like, but in terms of what kinds and sizes of spaces will we need in order for it to function well. Because functioning, you know what they say is that the person shapes the building, and then the building shapes the person. And so you need to really know that and understand the needs of the organization in terms of who communicates with whom and how often and how that happens. And then you have to shape the space to make the most of that, to potentiate that. Because sometimes that makes a difference between a sort of cohesive environment and a fragmented environment, is how easy is it to connect with these other folks. And if it's really, really easy, easier than anything else, then the connections happen. And if it's a little bit harder, they often don't. And that has an impact on the sense of cohesiveness and team, and that has an impact on patient care.
Yeah, definitely.
True, yeah. I remember the first time I was up at your place and for a meeting in the meeting rooms, or the group support rooms, or whatever they're all called. You've got, what, 4 or 5 of them there?
We have 3 meeting rooms.
3 meeting rooms.
Mhm.
And you walk in, you park, you get out of your car, you go inside, and then that view hits you on the other side of the building. And it's like, my gosh. So will everything up there be one story, or will there be some 2
yes.
stories?
No. One story.
One story.
Yep.
Smart move for people with wheelchairs.
Yeah.
Elevators are expensive.
They are, and you know, it's there's a certain culture of simplicity that I'm trying to stick with. And 2 stories brings all kinds of challenges in terms of fire codes, stairwells and elevators and ADAs. It gets really complicated, and we're blessed with enough space up there that I think we can operate for decades to come comfortably with 1 story, and I think that's going to be important for us to do that.
Sounds like you're going zen all across.
I think we've been that way, and we're just trying to resist the corruptions to do otherwise.
Zen is good. Zen is good in all phases of life.
Well, it seems like there was a lot of insight or foresight in getting that much acreage initially.
That was luck.
Oh, that was luck.
What happened was that our executive director at the time, this is back in the 80s, with some board members, had decided to start looking for a place. One of their board members was Rick Medina, and Rick was a county councilman at the time and a community leader. And Rick said, here's a list of all of the pieces of county land owned on Maui. Go through it, see which ones are empty, and see which ones you want. So they had a board group that did all that. And here at the end of Mahalani Street, and you know, back then there was a gate in front of Hui Malama.
That's right.
A steel gate. And the road ended there. It didn't really end. There was a dirt road that went the back way past a little reservoir and came out right by Maui, the Memorial Park area. And the this parcel of land was at the top. And at one point it was offered to Hale Makua, and at the time they didn't take it because it was off the grid. There was no electricity, no water, not much
but
of anything.
Hospice said, "Oh, we'll take it."
Well, I looked at it and I thought, grids aren't that important for us. We're really small. We just got to hang an extension cord from over there. And we put our office up there in 1992 and 93. We occupied it in 93. And we have a septic system that works. It's a sand hill. We didn't require any grading, so we didn't have to worry about EV. We had the place properly blessed on a number of occasions, and it's really been a perfect place for us.
That's terrific.
Well, now, if anybody, because we're winding up here, if anybody wants to make a donation, interested in finding out more about how they can help hospice, how do they get a hold of you guys?
We have the easiest phone number on this island, 244-5555. And we also have a website. It's not as hard as you might think. HospiceMaui.org.
www.
You don't even bother with that stuff. Most browsers will try the different things, and it will go through with just HospiceMaui.org.
Good deal.
So that's the best way to get in touch.
This has been so exciting. I'm feeling this 5-room place. When it was 12, it was just kind of okay.
Right.
But just hearing him talk about it, it's a whole new light.
Yes, it is. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah,
You can tell you're excited about it.
I am.
It
In the donors who have supported it as a 12-bed have looked at it from a 5-bed perspective, and they love it.
Yeah.
That's fabulous.
Well, it makes
Wow.
total sense for Hawaii. Makes total sense for Maui.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your innovation.
Thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us today on Maui Nonprofit Notes. This show is sponsored as a community service by our lovely Pacific Source. We thank them so much, the Builder's Choice on Maui. If you're building or remodeling, you got to stop by. Their showroom is awesome. It's worth it. The Maui Nonprofit Directors Association mission is to provide personal and professional support to nonprofits on Maui.
And we encourage everyone out there to get involved with, perhaps now with hospice after hearing about what they're up to, and Kalima o Maui and what they're up to. And please join us again next week, Wednesday, noon, KAOI 1110 AM, 96.7 FM. And we hope you have a great week. Sherry, thank you.
Thank you.
Greg,
Mahalo.
thank you.
Thank you,
This
folks.
is Susie saying goodbye.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha.